Okay, we're going to do Dafid Beis Amud Beis. We're learning the Mishnah. Now it says in the Mishnah, I guess 3 lines from the top, the second last word of the line. It says in the Mishnah, Rabbi says, we eat chametz for the whole fifth hour of the day. As soon as the fifth hour is over, we burn chametz from the beginning of the sixth hour. Again, hours over here doesn't mean 6 o'clock. It means fifth hour from when the day started, which is relevant, and which is relative, it depends on when the day starts. And the sixth hour means from when the day starts also. So the end of the fifth hour, until we eat chametz, the whole fifth hour. Here's the opinion. At the beginning of the sixth hour, we have to stop eating chametz already. The Seifim, but we don't burn it yet. The Seifim, we burn chametz at the beginning of the sixth hour. So everyone agrees that we burn chametz in the beginning of the sixth hour. The question is, what happens the fifth hour? According to Rabbi Meir, we according to the question, what happens the fourth hour? The fourth hour says that you have to get ready to burn it. So regarding the fifth hour of the day is machlokes between the Meir and Yehuda. Says the Gemara like this: La Abaye alib the Meir, the Amar ein adam toyev v'lo klum. Yesterday we learned that Abaye explained the Meir's opinion regarding edus, that if Edom contradict each other, Abaye said that people don't make a mistake in time. So people don't make a mistake in time regarding edus. Nechol kol hashis, a person should eat chametz the whole 6th hour until chatzos. Chametz is only aser from chatzos. If chametz is only aser from chatzos, so a person should be able to eat chametz until chatzos. Why does the Meir say that when it comes ready the 6th hour, the 5th hour, when it comes ready the 6th hour, a person has to burn his chametz an hour early? Why does a person burn his chametz an hour early? A person should burn his chametz when he needs to burn chametz and eat chametz until then. If a person doesn't make a mistake in time. Even if you're going to tell me, like we said yesterday, there's 2 different answers that Abaye said. One is that Rabbi holds that a person doesn't make any mistake in time, and the second answer was that a person can make a mistake in time. I'm not sure what's wrong with the connection. Okay, so we said that Meir says that we keep chametz for the whole. We keep chametz the whole 5th hour. The beginning of the 6th hour, we have to start burning chametz. Yehuda says that we keep chametz the whole 4th hour. The 5th hour, we have to stop eating chametz already. So we asked that according to Abaye, which you said yesterday, that when it comes to edus, Meir says that a person doesn't make any mistake in time. If a person doesn't make any mistake in time, why does Meir say that we have to burn chametz already an hour early? What's the reason for burning chametz an hour early? If no one makes a mistake in time, everyone gets the time correct. Burn chametz when you have to, and stop eating chametz then. And even if you're going to tell me that Meir says that you make a mistake in a little bit of time, like we said yesterday, not in hours, but in minutes. If you're making a mistake in minutes, so we should tell a few minutes before chametz, you have to start burning chametz. So a few minutes before, then the Meir should say that you should stop eating chametz. Why does the Meir say that a whole hour extra early to start? We have to stop eating chametz an hour extra before the time that you have to burn chametz. That's one question. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, the way Abaye explained Rabbi Yehuda, we also have a question. Because we said yesterday, Abaye alib with Rabbi Yehuda, Abaye according to Rabbi Yehuda. I'm not sure we're holding now. Abaye alib Rabbi Yehuda is 9 lines from the top. And Abaye, the way Abaye explained Rabbi Yehuda, we also have a question. Abaye alib Rabbi Yehuda, the way Abaye explained Rabbi Yehuda, we explained yesterday that Abaye says Rabbi Yehuda holds the other that Rabbi Yehuda holds that when it comes to edus, a person can make a mistake half an hour. So if so, why did Rabbi Yehuda say that we have to stop eating chametz already the 5th hour. We should eat chametz until a half an hour before midiraisa. If a person make a mistake for half an hour, so that's a midiraisa to stop eating chametz by chatzos. So half an hour before chatzos, you stop eating chametz, because that's the most a person can make his mistake in half an hour. And according to the second answer we answered yesterday, the amnat adam mashu, the person can make a mistake not in half an hour, but we give the second opinion we said yesterday, the person can make a mistake in an hour and a half. So we should at least be able to eat chametz until the middle of the 5th hour, meaning an hour and a half before chatzos. Why did Rabbi say that person has to stop eating chametz 2 full hours before chatzos? What's the reason 2 full hours before chatzos if a person is going to make a mistake an hour and a half? So now we have a contradiction between eidos and chametz. Regarding chametz, side of Yehuda and side of Meir are machmir much more than regarding eidos. And especially eidos is we're going to rely regarding eidos. We're saying that we're going to punish someone by death according to the eidos, and we still see that by eidos we say we're much more lenient than chametz. By chametz we're chesed much more. Says the Gemara, Elam Rabbi answers eidos musur lezrizim, chametz lakel asen. Eidos, a person who gives eidos, he knows when he's saying eidos, he's going to be much more exact than normal people. When a person says eidos, he's giving eidos, he knows that according to his eidos is going to be there's going to be a strong consequence going to come out of his eidos. And since there's going to be a strong consequence going to come out of his eidos, so even though a person can make a mistake in an hour and a half, but that's the most he makes a mistake. When it comes to chametz is a general issue for everyone. To make a time for everyone, some people are more clumsy, some people are less exact, some people are more exact. So make a general time for everyone that everyone has to everyone has to stop eating chametz before. When it's speaking more of a general isser, which is chametz, so we have to be cheshish much more for the general society. General society can make a mistake more than an hour and a half. The general society can make a mistake more than by eidos. By eidos, they're more exact. When it comes to chametz, the general society makes a mistake more. So therefore, regarding chametz, Sai Rabbi and Sai Rameh say to stop eating chametz way before the time that midiraisa you have to stop eating chametz. So that's the thing about it. So that was the question we asked on Rabbi. Yes, remember we had 2 answers. One answer was from Rabbi, one explanation was from Rabbi, the second explanation was from Rabbi. So we answered the question we had on Rabbi, that the difference between chametz and eidos is that by eidos people are more exact. When it comes to chametz, people are much less punctual, and therefore people are going to make a mistake in time and forget about it. So we made 2 full hours according to Yehuda before, and according to Meir, we make 1 full hour before midiraisa to stop eating chametz. The way, so now we're going to ask a question on Rabbi's explanation of Rabbi. Rabbi said yesterday, Rabbi explained Meir's opinion. Rabbi said yesterday that Meir holds that regarding eidos, a person can make a mistake in 2 hours, almost 2 hours. The person could be off in time, his clock could be wrong, almost 2.5, almost 2 hours, meaning an hour and let's say 59 minutes, 58 minutes. So if regarding eidos, a person can make a mistake, the most a person can make a mistake is for 2 hours. So we should have answered 2 hours before chatzos, when you have to stop eating chametz from the midiraisa. 2 hours before then that's when you should stop eating chametz. So why does the Meir say that only an hour before? The Meir says an hour before in the midiraisa it's also the chametz, you have to stop eating chametz. If a person can make a mistake in 2 hours regarding eidos, so regarding the chametz, Meir should be more stringent and say that a person 2 hours before the time of the midiraisa have to stop eating chametz. And Meir should say you should stop eating chametz. Something more no. There's a big difference between by chametz, the issue of chametz starts by chatzos. Chatzos, the sun is in one position. She'enkein, the 5th hour, the sun is in a different position. So chamesh, chamer mizach. When it comes to chametz, we just asked that a person Rameh should be cheshesh and say 2 hours before chatzos, a person should stop eating chametz. In case it makes a mistake, says Rameh, says Rabbi, according to opinion of Rameh, no one's going to make a mistake by chatzos 2 hours before chatzos. No one's going to think it's chatzos. Why? Because by chamesh, chamer mizrach, when it comes to the 5th hour of the day, the sun is in the east. For Shabbat, when it comes to chatzos, chamer ma'ariv, the sun is in the west, and therefore since the sun is in the west, so therefore a person is not going to make a person is just going to look up, and everyone knows more or less the exact time. Regarding eidos, which is speaking about different times of the day, the beginning of the day, so a person can make a mistake what time it is. When it comes to chametz, a person can't make a mistake by 2 hour time span. because the sun is a different position. And since the sun is a different position, no one's going to make a mistake. And that's why Rabbi says only an hour before the Isser starts, you have to stop eating chametz. Because we don't say by two hours before, because 2 hours before the sun is in a different position, so no one's going to make a mistake. Says the Gemara, if so, so why does the mayor say an hour before the time? So we just answered again. We just said according to the mayor, that since the sun is in position, by Chatzais, the sun is in one position, and by an hour, 2 hours before the sun is in different position. So the mayor says it doesn't make sense to stop making people to stop eating chametz 2 hours before the Isser, because 2 hours before this, no one's going to say, no one's going to make a mistake in time, because the sun is in position. So the question is, so why does he say 1 hour before? He shouldn't be chayish of anything. If the sun is in one position by chatzais, just say everyone should look up and see where the sun's holding. If the sun is holding the position of chatzais, stop eating chametz. Why did the mayor say that an hour before the time ready, this person has to stop eating chametz? Says the Gemara, even an hour before chatzais, the sun is already in the middle of the sky. Since the sun is already in the middle of the sky, so a person in this, meaning the sun is not a drastic regarding 2 hours before the sun is not in the middle, the sun is more towards the east. When the difference between chatzais and the 7th hour, meaning after chatzais, when it starts being asati chametz, so that the sun is already more or less in the same position. It's not such a big difference. Yeah, between right and left, between middle and left is one distance, and between right and left is much further. Right, if the sun is in the middle of the sky, so the 5th hour the sun's going to be here, 6th hour the sun's going to be here, and the 7th hour when chametz is the sun's going to be here. So the mayor says, make a mistake 1 hour between if the sun is here and the sun is here, so that person can make a mistake. But if the sun is here, no one's going to say that. No one's going to make a mistake and think that the sun is going to be here, and therefore, the mayor says that we should stop eating chametz only an hour before chametz starts, and not 2 hours, as opposed to eidos, the person can make a mistake by 2 hours. So that was the Rava's explanation of Meir. We answered that the difference between, according to the Rava's explanation of Meir, the person can make a mistake in 2 hours. The difference between Eidos, that which by Eidos the person can make a mistake, and that which by Chametz person can make a mistake, because the different timetables. By Eidos, we speak about they give Eidos in the morning. In the morning is no drastic difference between the sun's position, and therefore a person can make a mistake by 2 hours. When it comes to Eidos, when it comes to Chametz, since the Eidos of Chametz is just after Chatzais, so a person can see where the sun is, and no one's going to come to make a mistake. That's how we answer the Meir. Says the Gemara further, and Rabbi, the way Rabbi explained to Yehuda, we also have a problem. Because we explained that Rabbi said yesterday that Yehuda's opinion is regarding Eidos, the Adam, that a person by Eidos, a person can make a mistake by 3 hours. 3 hours, a person can be off in time. So if so, why does Yehuda say that a person should stop eating chametz by the 5th hour? 3 hours before the time to eat chametz. It's not the 5th hour, it's the 4th hour. So then Yehuda should say, just like by Eidos, the person can make a mistake by 3 hours. So too, regarding chametz, a person that Yehuda should say that a person should stop eating chametz 3 full hours before the time is to burn chametz. Why does he only say 2 hours before? Says the Gemara, the same type of answer we answered for the Meir. By chamesh, regarding the 5th hour, chametz b'mizrach, the sun is in the east. V'shava, when it comes to the 7th hour of the day, when the time is, that's the time to burn chametz. The sun is in a different position. V'kol sheken arba. And for sure, regarding the 4th hour, no one's going to make a mistake and think regarding eidos is in the morning, so therefore a person can make a mistake by 3 hours. Regarding chametz, which the issue starts after chatzais, no one's going to make a mistake in time, because by chatzais the sun is already in a different position. So therefore, regarding by chatzais, a person we're not machmir so much. See, if so, the obvious question is, why do we say that 2 hours before chatzais, 2 hours before the time to eat chametz is awesome? Just say by chatzais, everyone look up, can see where the sun is, and then that'll be it. Says the Gemara, eat chametz b'chamesh also the 5th hour. Why b'cheshesh? Why does Yehuda say that 2 full hours before the time to eat chametz, the time to burn chametz, the person has to stop eating chametz? No one's going to come to make a mistake, because the time to burn chametz with the rice is obvious time. It's in the sun's in a whole different position. So the Gemara says, Targuma Abaya Liba the Rava Abaya translated. Abaya answered for Rav and said, Eidos Masoyer is the same answer we said before. Regarding Eidos, the same answer we answered for Rabbi, we can't answer here. Regarding Eidos is more a person is more precise when it comes to Eidos. Chametz is Issa that's given over to everyone. Since Chametz is Issa, they're given over to everyone. So it's more chance a person can make a mistake, not a person. The general society is not a person who's being exact. It's a chametz, it's Isser by everyone. Therefore, people aren't going to be exact in time. So the Rabbi said that 2 hours before the Isser, a person should stop eating chametz just to make sure he gets the time right. Said the Gemara, how can you answer that for Rava? But Rava Amar, lay high in the time of the Rabbi. We just said before that Rava said that's not the reason for the Rabbi. We have a clear Mishnah that says, a clear Brisa, that said that's not the reason for a clear statement of Rava. That Rava said that's not the reason for Yehuda. We answer for Abaya. You can answer there's the difference between Eidos and a difference between Eidos and Pesachim and Pesach because it's given over to everyone. But Rava himself just gave an answer now. Rava said that the answer is the son's different position. And we're asking according to that answer. Rava could have just answered like Abaya if that was his opinion. So we have to come up with a new answer. Ela Amar Rabbi Yehuda says the time the Amar Ela Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his reasoning. Yehuda says the Amar we're going to learn in the Mishnah. It's going to be soon in the Chafal from Rav. The Mishnah says Ein bir chametz ela b'seifa. The way to burn chametz is only by burning. So how does the person burns things? Nowadays we have gas. In those days, how they burn things with wood. When are you supposed to collect the wood? Rabbanan gave him extra time. Rabbanan gave him extra time to gather the wood to burn to burn the chametz, and therefore you can't ask a difference between Eidos, the opinion regarding Eidos testimony and regarding the chametz. Because regarding Eidos, a person can make a mistake in time. Checking over here, the problem isn't a mistake in time. The problem is more a mistake in practical. That a person is not going to have a person has to get chametz burned by a certain hour. And he's if you're gonna give him extra time span, he's gonna not be lazy and not get the wood, and therefore he's gonna end up delaying the burning of the chametz. So we made it takana. Everyone should stop burning chametz. Everyone should stop eating chametz at a certain time, not because the person's gonna make a mistake in time, because the sun is. We can see where the problem is, but because to give a person extra time to gather wood to burn chametz. So Ravina asked on Rava for his answer. Just said now, we have a clear Mishnah that Yehuda says, when do you have to burn chametz? When is the option to get rid of the chametz? When does Rabbi Yehuda say you have to get rid of the chametz by burning it? That's only if you're getting rid of your chametz before the time starts. If you're burning chametz at its time, meaning the time of the Raisa, the beginning of the 6th hour, just after Chatzais, when a person with the Raisa, a person has to start burning his chametz. A person doesn't have to burn chametz at that time. Yehuda said that which you have to burn your chametz is only before the time. But if you're burning the chametz at the time that Terry said, if you're getting rid of the chametz, by the time Terry said to get rid of it, you don't have to burn it. You could get rid of it anyway. So if so, why do you have to make a special time to gather wood? He doesn't have to burn his chametz. He could get rid of it by throwing it into the sea, or by crunching it up and throwing it in the air. Rabbi gives a new answer that is not because of burning chametz, and it's not because people are going to mistake in time. It's because we're scared that it's going to be a cloudy day. And if it's a cloudy day, then we just said that a person doesn't make a mistake in time in the middle of the day because the sun is a certain position. What if it's cloudy? You can't see the sun. So therefore, Yehuda said, give it a 2-hour time span. Even if you won't be able to see the sun, he will still not make a mistake in the time he has to burn chametz. If so, if you're scared that it's going to be a cloudy day, the whole day should be asr. From the beginning of the day should be asr to burn chametz because no one knows when chatzais is. We can't see where the sun is. Even from the 4th hour. Why does Yehuda say only from the 5th hour a person has to stop eating chametz? Even the 4th hour a person should stop eating chametz. Because maybe he's not going to know what chatzais is. He doesn't know what the time is. And therefore we should give him an extra time span to get rid of to be sure that he burns chametz in time. So we have to come up with the final answer, which is the final answer the Gemara gives, is Amar Pap Arbaz Man Soda Lakel. 4 o'clock, the 4th hour into the day, meaning 4 hours after people are up, is when everyone eats breakfast. Since that's when everyone eats breakfast, everyone knows when breakfast is. Everyone knows exactly every single time of the day. Person estimates exactly when he woke up, when the sun rises, which is the beginning of the day when people used to wake up. And 4 hours after that is when the regular time people eat breakfast. So no one's going to make a mistake in that time. From 4 hours into the day, everyone knows exactly when that is. The chash is after 4 hours into the day. He's not going to know what time it is. And therefore, regarding 4 hours into the day, everyone knows what time it is, and therefore there's no chash that he's going to mistake that time for chatzais. Well, afterwards, we are cheshesh for a cloudy day, and by a cloudy day, it's going to be a problem. So the Gemara said, if it's a cloudy day, how does he know? The Gemara asked, The question about was if it's a Kali day, so how does he know at what time it is B'chlal? Maybe we should stop eating chametz from the 4th hour also. So I think, no, a person knows when he usually eats breakfast, and therefore, even on Kali day, he knows what time it is on that day. But afterwards, he's going to cut and he's going to forget about it, and they're going to make a mistake in time. He loses track of time. So we said that from the 5th hour, we should stop eating chametz. So now the Gemara goes into the whole discussion of when people used to eat breakfast in those days. It's nothing to do with Masechta Pesachim. It's a question on what we're going to say now, but it's an interesting piece. It says the Gemara like this: Tanda Rabbanim learn in Brayso. Shari Shayna, the beginning of the day, meaning the first hour of the day, Michael Lud is when the people from Lud used to eat breakfast. Like Rashi says, not over here. Rashi in Masechta Shabbos says there were people that were bandits who the whole night they would spend the night robbing people and stealing. So they were up the whole night. So Rashi actually says they were cannibals. They used to eat human flesh. So Rashi says, so the Gemara says that before the first hour of the day, that was when they used to eat breakfast. Since they were up the whole night, so they would go to take a small nap and they would wake up and eat breakfast. Shniya, the second hour of the day, Michael Listim, is when the bandits used to, so there are different types of bandits, there are people from Lut, and then the second hour of the day was when the bandits used to eat breakfast. Yeah, again, bandits are people who work the whole night, and since they were up the whole night, they had to go to sleep a bit during the day. They were hungry, but they had to sleep a bit also. So they used to sleep the first hour of the day. The second hour of the day is when they used to eat breakfast. Shlishis, the third hour of the day, Michael Yoshin, is when the people who, Yoshin is a term for people who don't work. Yeah, people who, a businessman, even though he's rich and he has food, but he works, he has to go to work. When it comes to inheritors who inherited huge amounts of money, so they're basically jobless. They don't have to work the whole life. They never work, and they inherited money, so they have nothing. They don't work, so they eat breakfast the third hour in the day. They wake up, they wait a few hours, and the time they get bored or whatever, they eat breakfast. Revi is the 4th hour of the day. Michael Peilin is when people who work, they eat breakfast the 4th hour of the day. Again, when we speak about the 4th hour of the day, we speak about 4 hours after Netzach Ham. People used to wake up in Netzach Hametz since the sun rose. That's when everyone woke up, and people used to they had to go to work. You can't sit and eat breakfast straight away. So they used to go to work. 4 hours instead, they used to eat. They used to eat breakfast. Chamish is the 5th hour into the day, which is almost by lunchtime. That's when Tamil Chacham used to eat. It's a whole different discussion why they used to eat at the 5th hour of the day. They were busy learning Torah, so they didn't have time to eat breakfast. So they ate breakfast the 5th hour into the day. Shishish, the 6th hour into the day is Michael Koladam, is when everyone eats breakfast, which is the 6th hour into the day is usually, let's say Chatzais is let's say Netzacham, let's say is 6 o'clock in the morning. So 11 o'clock in the morning, that's when everyone used to eat breakfast. So regular people eat breakfast the 6th hour into the day. Everyone else, there's different stages of when they used to eat breakfast. We're asking contradictions to this because Papa says, the Papa said that everyone used to eat breakfast the 4th hour into the day. We just brought a Bryce that says everyone ate breakfast the 6th hour into the day. The Papa said, Clark, that everyone ate breakfast the 4th hour into the day, 2 hours before. So they're arguing when people used to eat breakfast. Ella April. Gemara says change around. The gears of the Bryce is not a good gears. Change around the gears. That what? The V's, Michael the Bryce, the gears of the Bryce is supposed to be that yay breakfast, everyone eats breakfast the 4th hour of the day. Chamish is the 5th hour, Michael Pelim, is when the workers ate breakfast because they were at work, so they didn't have time to eat breakfast. And Shish is the 6th hour of the day is Michael Tamil Chacham, is when Tamil Chacham used to eat breakfast. Like the Bryce finishes off. Mikan ve'elach, if you eat after the 6th hour of the day, kazerek even lachemes. It's like you're throwing a stone into a barrel full of wine. It's an expression that the Rabbi brings a lot of times. That if you throw, it's an interesting mushal. If you throw a stone into a barrel of wine, so the wine rises. Obviously, if the stone takes up space, so it puts pressure on the wine rises. So now, if someone's going to look at this wine, so without knowing the stone inside, he's going to think that the wine's full. But is the wine actually full? The wine's not full. The wine is just being occupied by stones. That's where the wine's full. So Gemara brings this a few times as an example for a person doing something that right now he's full, especially when it comes to food. Right now he's full, but it's empty. It's not. It doesn't have an effect on his body. He thinks he's full, but the food's going to go away, digest very quickly, and therefore it's not going to be a gain to his digestible system. So we say that if a person eats breakfast too late, so even though he's going to be full for that time, but the food is going to be digested very quickly, and therefore it's not going to be very helpful for him. Even scientifically nowadays, a person eats different times. As a person can eat one time and a person eats a different time, the same amount of food, and he feels full in a different way. Abai says, when do we say that if you eat after the 6th hour, then it's not, it might fill you up now, but it's not going to fill you up for the rest of the day. This is all when he didn't eat anything in the morning. So he's eating, the first thing he's eating is 6 hours a day, which is around 12 o'clock. The first time he's eating is 12 o'clock. So then it's not, even though it can be full now, but I guess, I don't know the beer in it, but I guess since he was so hungry, then the body uses the food up very quickly. So he's full now, but the body works, digests the food very quickly. But if he ate already in the morning, got a small snack in the morning, then if he eats the 6th hour there, then it's fine. Okay. That's one insight the Gemara brings. Now the Gemara goes back to Chametz. Ravashi said, just like they have an argument in Eidos, the argument in Eidos has to fit with their Shitta in Chametz. Says the Gemara Shitta. We just had a whole discussion of how the argument in Eidos has to fit with Chametz. What's he being mechadish? The argument in Eidos has to fit with Chametz. So the Gemara Ravashi came to teach us that the answer we gave in Tana, those are the answers we should stay by, and not say we shouldn't say there's two different Tanoim arguing in the Shita of Yehuda and Rabbi. The Gemara does this a few times. The Gemara says, and if you have a contradiction between Brises, so how do we answer it? So different ways of answering. Either you can answer according to logic, in this case is different than that case, or another way the Gemara answers is that when these two sides, that contradictions of the same Tanoim, isn't the Tanoim saying their own Shita, it's other Tanoim saying in the name, giving insights and the opinion of other of these two Tanoim. For example, in our case, we have an argument between you have a contradiction between the Meir Shita in Eidos and a Meir Shita in Pesachim. How do we answer it? So we just gave an answer that Pesachim is different than Eidos, because Pesachim is different answers. Either Pesachim is Eidos is given to over, is an issue for everyone, and Eidos is given over to precise people. That when someone gives Eidos is more precise. I'm shaking Pesachim, people aren't precise. That's one way of answering. Another way of answering it is that Ramei Pesachim and Ramei Eidos isn't Ramei himself. It's Tanoim arguing in the opinion of Ramei, and therefore there's no contradiction. So that's what Ravashi bin Mechadish. Don't look for a different answer and say that the Ramei of Pesachim and Ramei of Eidos isn't Ramei himself. It's a Tana in the name of Ramei. But the answer you gave a good answer, that's how you just stay. Then the Gemara finishes off this sugya. Amr Rav Shimi bar Ashi. Rav Shimi said the name. Shimi, the son of Ashi, said, "Leishanu ela b'shois." The whole machlekes between Yehuda and Ramei is only making a mistake in hours of the day. If you have one aid that says that the Reuven killed Shimon before the sun rose, one aid says after the sun rose, people can't even make a mistake in time. In fact, when the sun rises, if one aid says that the Reuven killed Shimon before the sun rose and one says after the sun rose, then obviously they're contradicting each other because everyone can see when the sun rises. So that everyone agrees. Side of Yehuda, side of Meir, everyone agrees that doesn't work. Obviously, it's a fact. You can see when the sun rises. If they contradict each other, one says before the sun rose, one says after the sun rose, we can't use this eidos because they're clear contradiction. There's no way of sticking them together. So you don't have to tell me things that make sense. Ella. So we have to translate that which Shimi bar Ashi came to Mechadish. He meant to say like this. If you have one aid says that before that Reuven killed Shimon before the sun rose. And the other one said while the sun was rising, that's when Reuven killed Shimon. So in that case, even in that case, even if they both, one says Reuven killed Shimon before the sun rose, and the other aid says that he killed him while the sun was rising, even then the Eidos is bottom. The Eidos is nullified. Why? Obviously, why not? Obviously, there's a difference between the sun rising now and before the sun rose. So if someone says that Reuven killed Shimon before the sun rose, and someone says that Reuven killed Shimon while the sun was rising, it's also not possible to stick them together because before the sun rose, it's dark or whatever. And while the sun is rising, it already starts, you can see the rays of the sun. And therefore, obviously, they're contradicting each other. I don't need Rav Shimi or Rashi to tell me that. Says Gemara, no, it's not so simple. Now, the tema I would have thought that they're not contradicting each other, they're saying the same thing. The one that said that Reuven killed Shimon while the sun was rising, he meant he didn't mean while the sun is rising, he meant that while the sun is starting to rise. He saw the rays of the sun starting to rise, so he thought that's That's what sunrise means. Kamash Mala, no. Sunrise means sunrise not when the sun starts rising, but when the sun is rising in its full form. And therefore, if one says that Umikil Trim before the sun rose, and one says Umikil Trim while the sun was rising, they're Edus is Bata because they're clearly contradicting each other. Because when we say the sun rising, we mean the sun rising fully. We can stop over here. Daf Yud Gimel Amid Aleph. Have a good Shabbos, and see you on Sunday.
Shabbos.
Any questions? Okay.